Wrestling Show, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things wrestling across North Jersey and beyond. This is Season 8, Episode 6, and we have a slimmed-down crew once again this evening. I am Corey Doviak, and I'm being joined by, well, I'm going to try to keep this from being a rudderless ship, as the guy I usually introduce first is not here tonight, Kenny Sarajan. He's out on assignment. He's feeling good. He's happy, but he is not available. So what we have to deal with is the assistant coach of the North Bergen Fightin' Bruins. He is Ryan Burdett. Ryan, thank you for joining me here tonight.
My pleasure, Corey. Happy to get started.
All right, and we also have the Pope of Bergen County Wrestling, a man who would never miss a show. He is the great Dominic Spataro. What's going on, Donnie?
Gentlemen, God bless all of you.
Yes, Tommy Gallione, Pascagoula Valley head coach, not available. Mike Atanasio, Westwood assistant coach, not available. And right, it's weird because those two guys are having the two of the best seasons of any two public schools in Bergen County, and they don't want to even talk about it here.
I know. I think they're they don't want to jinx themselves. Maybe trying to stay out of the spotlight.
They are afraid of the NorthJerseySports.com multimedia presentation jinx, which is a thing. At least every time I walk into a gym, people tell me I am a black cat. But we still have a good show for you. We are going to talk a little program building. Now, actually, one of the topics that we have been wanting to dive into all year here on the show is the co-op situation. The NJSIAA barely avoided having a new structure foisted upon it by the state legislature. That would have really changed things in terms of co-op programs, opening it up to bigger schools. We had a very informed person on the guest list. He also canceled on us. So we are going to talk about the other side of it with TJ Kroncke, the Woodridge head coach, whose program used to be a part of the Hasbrouck Heights / Woodridge co-op. It's been on its own for the last couple of years now, and TJ really has had to build that program up from zero. It's been about, the last couple of years have been just about getting numbers in the room. This year they're up to 13 or 14. We'll ask them specifically a little bit later on, but we want to just check in and see how it's going to build a program, which is not easy to do in the current wrestling climate. But first, we are going to talk a little bit about the PowerPoints because the playoffs are starting to come into focus a little bit here. We're talking team playoffs. And Ryan, there are some interesting brackets here across North Jersey. You and I, before we went on the show, doing a little show prep, talking specifically about North 1 Group 2, which is loaded. But why don't we, take a peek around. Start us off.
All right. Well, we could start with, Group 1. You have Emerson Park Ridge in Section 1, Group 1, and they're 15-0. They added a couple more wins this week. Some big wins over St. Peter's Prep, Old Japan, and most importantly, number 7 in the state, Hunterdon Central. The St. Peter's match was a little bit closer than I thought. St. Peter's as good as they were the past couple of years. They have some new names in there, and they were very, very impressive. As far as the rest of Group 1, it's really just a matter of who's getting to the finals with Emerson Park Ridge.
Yeah.
In Group 2, I think that's the most competitive and the deepest group out of any of the public school groups. And you have Newton is the number 1 seed right now. Again, the PowerPoints come out tomorrow morning, so we'll know better. And a week from now, I'm sure it'll change again. But they're number 1. Although they've already been beaten by number 2 High Point, who would jump them if it stayed that way. Jefferson in that group has wins over Westwood and Kittatinny, although the Kittatinny match was a 2-point match and there was 3 1-point decisions in that match. And then you have, Westwood, who has a loss to Jefferson and wrestles Kittatinny this weekend. So in the top 5 of the 8 are very competitive, and whoever is the 4 or 5 seed is going to have to they're going to have to win, 3 tough matches to take home a crown.
Yeah.
it's a solid group. It's the deepest group, and really, I'd have to put High Point at the top there, and Jefferson right there with High Point, and the other three are not far behind. So that's probably the most entertaining group if you're going to watch playoff wrestling.
I saw somewhere that Jefferson beat Kittatinny for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Yes. It's 2-point final. Yep.
And then, all right, so continue Group 4.
I got Group 3 to cover Tommy's group. You got, really it comes down to 3 teams, I think, here. Not to displace the others, but you're looking at Sparta, Pascagoula Valley, and Montville, who actually we just saw this weekend. They were a little banged up, but they've got some really good individuals. They're pretty deep. And so, between PV, Montville, and Sparta, I think you're going to get the champ out of there. I favor Sparta right now, but if PV is healthy and wrestling well, I think they're right there too.
If Tommy Gallione was on the show tonight, would you still favor Sparta?
Yes. I would never throw the kibosh on him in favor. I wouldn't want to do that to him either. Right. I think he'd rather be the dog. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know enough about Group 4 to speak on it. I haven't seen West Mars Central this year. Obviously, Roxbury is very good. Their competition this year, their schedule is pretty loaded, and so their record doesn't look great, but their power points are high. And then you have Fairlawn, who going into this week was undefeated. And then Group 5, we're over in Group 5. We're the 2 seed right now. West Orange is probably the best team going. You got PCT, who's a returning champ. The group's down. So I think between West Orange, PCT, and hopefully we're in there, you're going to get a champ from one of those 3. Somebody's got to come out of it. And like we talked about before, I guess the theme of the year has been health. So I think whoever's healthy come February 5th is going to have the best shot to win a lot of these groups.
And Donnie, that brings us up to the non-publics, and you guys are in an interesting spot because of the schedule that you have, chosen to partake in, which you've, newsflash, Bergen Catholic, very good wrestling team this year. You've gone all over the place, all over the country, literally back and forth between the coasts, up and down, and it leaves you with 2 matches that qualify you for PowerPoints in the NJSIAA PowerPoint system. Now, you guys have the waiver, so it's not like you have to wrestle the 10 matches or have the 70-30 between in-state competition and out-of-state competition. But it is going to be interesting come seeding time if you guys are the number 6 seed.
Yeah, there's 7 teams in the group. So, for people who don't know out there, you only get power points for wrestling teams in state. Obviously, because it's the only way that they can, figure out a ranking. How would you actually figure out power points for an out-of-state team? So it makes sense. Currently we've been the 4th. We've been ranked 4th with power points so far. So like Ryan said, the new power points come out tomorrow. We'll see where we're at by then. So, possibly could be the 4th or 5th seed. So we just got to sit back and see what happens. So that basically means that Dave and I were talking today that we probably won't have any home matches at all either with the sectionals coming up. With the 3, we should be wrestling 3 matches, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we should be on the road all 3 matches.
Is there no mechanism to take into account your national schedule? The NJSA just doesn't have it.
No, there's really no way that the state can do that. That's pretty much impossible. You have to be in state. The way they figure it out, the beginning of the year, how the state starts out with your first set of PowerPoints is determined on how many district place winners you have coming back, and then your points are figured through that, and then a change during the year according to how powerful the teams are that you wrestle, and that's how your points either go up or down. And there's a chart, so if a team has, say, 25 power points and you beat them by 9 or more, you can look on the chart and see what the most amount of power points you can get for that win. So there's not much you can do. You just, you're at the mercy of the system right now.
I take a lot of flack on this show, and rightfully so, for knowing the least about wrestling of any co-host or guest that we've ever had on. I'm in dead last place. But I am an avid fan of the Twitter, and I did notice because Blair Academy follows me, and I follow them right back. And Donnie, Blair beat Wyoming Seminary, so by the power of thirds and 6 degrees of separation and everything else, I mean, you guys won who's number one, so it wasn't really a question. But you beat Blair. Blair beat Wyoming Seminary. Any comments on that? Thoughts on that? Did that even register?
No,
with
not
the
really.
Catholic
Just
Crusaders?
we have there's a twist to this weekend coming up. Not only do we have Wyoming Seminary that's ranked third in the nation, we are also wrestling Montini Catholic.
You let them in,
the
huh?
nation. Yep, they are in, and we're also wrestling St. Ed's from Ohio, who is 8th in the nation. So we'll have 3, 5, and 8 this weekend.
You got any room for North Bergen in there? They want to get in too.
Yeah. So it's going to be quite interesting this weekend as we go on the road.
Donnie, how about this? It's funny how this evolution has gone, because we've talked about it. We talked about it extensively with Dave Bell last week. Yeah, that was a fun show to do, picking his brain a little bit. But
you know what he never told you either? He's kind of a humble guy. Years ago, when he first started wrestling Blair, when no one else did. I mean, that was first of its kind for a New Jersey team. And the just said to either call Blair up asking for a match. They would lose 60-3, 58-6, and so on. And the people from certain newspaper publications around this area,
which we will,
would interview Dave after the match, kind of with a smirk on their faces. And would say to Dave, Dave, is this really worth doing this? Do you guys really have a chance? Why do you do this to your team?
Yeah.
And Dave really believed years ago that if you continue to do this and you continue to work, that someday it'll pay off. And sure enough, right now it has. So, he did leave that out last week. We always talk about that.
I'm gonna
how the evolution of this has come about. It's taken a very long time, but it's worked so far. So.
I'm going to have to impart that wisdom to TJ Kroncke when we have him on from Woodridge. They've been taking some lumps, but again, they're building, and not that they're trying to build into a national power, but that's where it starts. It starts calling up Blair and saying, "Hey, will you let us come visit you to get beat by 60 points?" But the evolution that I was talking about is the fact that you guys were in chase mode for so many years, starting with those lopsided losses at Blair Academy. And now, I know you guys were supposed to wrestle Wyoming Seminary. I think it was supposed to be a duel. Now these other two teams get in. Everybody's calling you up now, looking to take shots at number one because you guys are it.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be the hunter, and now we're the hunted. So it's kind of a different feeling. But hey, if you want to be number one, you gotta wrestle all these big. You gotta wrestle all these top 10 teams. Prove yourself. I mean, you just can't get one win and run away and try to hide, and hopefully that you'll be handed the award for the best team in the nation. So you want to be considered the best, wrestle everybody. So that's what we're doing.
Number 1 in the nation, number 6 in your non-public state sectional bracket. Right. Anything else we should mention about the
fourth? Let's get this right. It's 4th so far.
All right. Number 1 in the nation, number 4 in the state sectional tournament bracket. Right. Anything else we should mention about the playoffs before we move on to TJ here?
No, I think we'll know more in the coming weeks, but I think with the new system with 8 teams, really, you don't really get down to it till a couple matches on Wednesday night. Monday is pretty chalk. Yep. And then by Wednesday you have a couple good matches, and then Friday's where it's at. So I think we covered everything that we need to right now.
All right. That's teams that are trying to make the playoffs, and we will move on to a coach who is hoping to get his program in similar situations in the near future. Joining us now on the Wrestling Show is Woodridge head coach TJ Kroncke. Coach, thanks for giving us a few minutes here on the Wrestling Show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it completely.
Yes, well, I'm happy to have you on because, picture day the last 2 years, I've promised I'm going to have you on, and I never have because I'm a jerk like that. But it's interesting time to have you on here because one of the issues that we have been talking about all year, and we're going to dive deeper into it, especially in light of the barely avoided change of co-op procedures that the state tried to foist onto the NJSIAA. Co-ops in wrestling have become commonplace. A lot of teams are gravitating to them. You took over a program, on the other hand, that had just left. It was Hasbrouck Heights / Woodridge for a while. Now it's Woodridge standing on its own. And I know you're a Hasbrouck Heights guy. So, talk about that transition, because I know from doing the pictures down there, you started, if there was a time where you could say started from before scratch, that's what you walked into at Woodridge.
I'll be honest completely. I started from completely nothing.
Yep.
I was left with a program, unfortunately, that was built on seniors for a year, and I stepped into it with 5 kids showing up and not really any interest in really even those 5 kids going forward. Being a Heights guy, I kind of was really thrown off by this because, listen, I was a guy built on a program where people just, the next guy stepped in.
Yep.
When I stepped into this, it wasn't like that at all. So I had to go out through football. Thankfully, I was in the program with football where I was able to kind of recruit kids that maybe didn't want to do it or maybe had a past in wrestling, and I was able to actually get some kids out last year. Now, even more this year, I have, double the amount of kids out, which is at least is a step in the right direction.
When we did the pictures, they were have the photo right here in front of me. There were 14 kids in the team photo. Here we are 5-6 weeks later. How many would be in that photo if I came to take it tomorrow?
I have 13 kids, and the 14th person that you have on there is probably my director of operations, RJ, who looks like a kid, but unfortunately he's a 27-year-old high school student, a former high school student who's my right-hand man. So, he looks like a heavyweight, but he can't wrestle.
All right, so 13 it is. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I was taking a look at your at the rec program. Myself, besides doing North Bergen, I live in Park Ridge, so I do my son's rec program in Park Ridge, and obviously we're on the opposite side here with the whole Park Ridge Emerson thing. But looking at the program, it looks like you have 26 kids in the rec, and more importantly, you have 2 or 3 7th, 8th graders that are pretty good ratings-wise, according to the rec rankings. What's the relationship right now with the rec program, and what do you see coming forward?
Truth be told, that was the first thing I did. I stepped right in. We practiced, apparently before I was there, the high school practiced in the cafeteria. The rec program had their own time at the intermediate school, which is a 4 through 6 school. So the first thing I did was make some continuity in that. And last year we began practicing before the rec program on days during the week. So for me, it's great because now I get to see the rec program, and I'm consistent in it. I'm there every day. Actually, this past year there was a turnover in it, and a former athlete of mine that I coached, Mike Cholas from Hasbrouck Heights, is now in charge of the rec program. So for me, setting the boundaries in place now is awesome because I have a person I trust in place, and now we can go forward from there.
Awesome.
Listen, no matter what sport you're talking about, that's where it's got to be. It's got to be at that lower level, and you got to get kids excited. Do you do anything with, kids' night at the varsity match where you give them T-shirts, let them walk on the mat? Have you tried stuff like that?
Yes, and with the rec program, thank God, I'm actually, now this year has been better than ever, where I'm able to get the rec people more involved. I've done, through my fundraiser, actually, we did a clothing fundraiser where they were involved in it. They're doing a couple of fundraisers themselves where my high school kids were involved. February 3rd is one of their first home rec matches, and my varsity team will be there working the clock, doing the things that needs to be done. So, that's what I was born on, being a Heights guy. I was a high school kid going to rec matches, so I'm bringing that over to Woodridge. where I have to be there. The kids got to be involved. There's got to be that continuity where high school and rec go together.
And I know that you've tried everything, or currently trying everything to build up numbers. I mean, an interesting thing, and can easily be overlooked, is the new uniforms that you guys are wearing. I mean,
that is the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah, go ahead, explain that.
That is the absolute best thing that happened to me. I'll say it forever. Being able to have the two-piece uniform, I didn't think it would work, but, I talked to Dennis Murray from Richfield Park last year, and he said, you need something, you need uniforms, you need something. And when this came up, I jumped on it. And the two-piece uniform, I was thinking about it today. I brought in 8 kids to a program that I finished with 7 kids last year. So for me, I almost doubled, if not tripled, continuity-wise, the amount of kids that I had. They didn't want to wear a singlet. I don't know why. I don't know. I was a wrestler. I get it, but they didn't want to wear a singlet. So we moved on from it, and I finished last year with 7 kids. I now have 13.
13 and one who looks like a wrestler, as I learned earlier.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very... same thing happened in other sports, too. Swimming. Boys' participation surged when they got rid of the Speedo. Cross country, boys' participation or track surged when they got rid of the short shorts. It's a different time than when we were growing up and you just took your uniform and wore it. You didn't even think about it. So, it's one of those overlooked things, and it's being progressive. I mean, if it gets one kid in the room, it's worth it. But it sounds like it's even helping more than that. You got another one, Rye?
Yeah, I guess basically something that we've talked about on the show often, and it doesn't just pertain to Woodridge, it pertains to a lot of programs, but obviously in Woodridge with, trying to build a program and low numbers right now and slowly building up, it would be big for you. Have you noticed it's hard to get the athlete to come out that's not necessarily a wrestler, somebody pull them out of the hallway and convince them to do this, especially the way the top-level guys are now? Whereas when they go to a wrestling match and they see a kid get beat up, they say, so I'm going to work all year for this to go, we always talk about on the show, go 8-8 or go 5-7, whatever it may be. Has it been hard to get that athlete out that's, not a wrestler yet, but trying to convince him to become a wrestler?
You know what? Last year it was. This year, I have to say, my 6 new kids could care less what in the past or what they look like. You could see the wrestlers. Hypothetically, I know, you walk into a room and you see an athlete bouncing around looking like a wrestler. Tonight my 285, who literally last year was a backup nose guard and wanted to get better and, try everything, ended up throwing a headlock on the 285 from Passaic, who looked like a grown man. And so for me, I think this year was a change in exactly what you said, where it was the kids that didn't really care. They just wanted to do better, get there. In the past, absolutely, I feel like I've seen that. But I'm lucky enough this year to get that 6 kids that really didn't care, all right, you have 25 wins? All right, whatever, big deal. But, you don't necessarily get that every year.
Woodridge has had a kind of a renaissance of sorts. The baseball program under Mike Karsich has been great the last couple of years. Charlie Trenicosti's done a great job with the football program. They made the state tournament this year. You were a part, actually, I said you as a part of Charlie's staff, too, doing a great job. First time in the state playoffs since 2007. And if Mikey G didn't get hurt, you might have even won a game. Or at least, made a good run there in that first game against New Milford. But, is there more focus on athletics at Woodridge now? Is it just a matter of you had a good couple classes come through back-to-back? or, what's the situation? Because you can tell, and it's, you get a lot of community support. I like covering Woodridge games because you go down there and it's, it's the old school supportive atmosphere, not the derisive atmosphere that you get in some places.
Truthfully, it's the continuity in sports. And, football is good with wrestling, which is good with baseball, which is good with volleyball, which is good with track. It's just kids supporting kids, and everyone's together. It's the continuity of, we're all Blue Devils. And I'll be honest, Coach Kroncke is one of the first ones that implemented that, and I think we all kind of came full circle. And to me, I think that's what's changing the culture of it. We might not have a winning season every year, but the kids are in it. The kids are focused. They want to be successful. And truthfully, I think it all started with Coach Kroncke in football.
Yeah, and Group 1 sports, you're just gonna have those cycles. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. But right. You want to start the co-op conversation? I probably should have gotten there sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what was the process? Obviously you guys were linked together with Heights. How far along, or how long before did you know that you were going to split? Was it a year before they said this is it, and then next year you're apart? Like, what was the process?
It was one of those. There was a year process, and then next year they knew that they were going apart. And now I'm kind of on the back end of it, where I didn't even take it over, because if you look at it, the former head coach of Woodridge, in 2000, Heights and Woodridge were separate. 2001 they became together, and Evan Dolan was the coach then, and they brought him back. So I was kind of an outsider, even knowing information. I found out June of that year going forward that there was a possibility of a split, and then that they were bringing him in. So, it was kind of really thrown on everything in general, and the numbers really, we weren't sure of the numbers at all.
If looking back at it now, is it a positive, a negative, neutral? We've seen some unbelievably successful co-op programs like Emerson Park Ridge. We've seen Woodridge split away, some other, and some strange bedfellows too. When you talk about Pagoda/Weehawken wrestling, or something like that. What do you think about the co-op situation, especially in terms of Group 1, which you know best?
I think everyone wants their own identity, and I accept and I understand that. And I think that was one of the reasons why this was done with the Woodridge and Heights split. I think in the long run, I think both programs will be successful. I think that if given the right person and given the right time, that the sport can be brought back in both towns. I mean, right now we're at about the same numbers of people, which to me is insane considering Heights being a dominant program and Woodridge being kind of a secondary one.
Yeah.
So to me, I think given the right person and given the right people, Craig is a great guy. I want to see the program be successful in Woodridge. I think we can both get the programs back up and, individually be successful. But, right now in the next couple of years, I think it might be a little tough to get the numbers back out there.
TJ Kroncke, the head coach of the Woodridge Fighting Blue Devils, doing a great job down there. And I'm glad that we finally got to have you on here and got your perspective on it, because, it's going to be, you start with nothing, and it's going to be all that much sweeter when you get to where you want to go. So, really, congratulations on what you've built so far, because for people who don't know, they might look at your record or whatever else. They don't realize how much blood, sweat, and tears you've poured into it just to get where you are now. And it definitely seems to me like you got it going in the right direction. So, congratulations on that, and thanks for coming on tonight.
No, thank you. I appreciate it very much. I look forward to the rest of a successful season, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get a couple Blue Devils down in AC. That's the main goal at the end of the day.
That's it. That's it. Ryan Burdett's thinking the same thing over there at North Bergen, and so is every other coach in the state. So great stuff, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, interesting stuff there with TJ Kroncke, the Woodridge head coach, doing a good job rebuilding a program. Donnie, you were awfully quiet during that segment. What happened?
I had my phone on mute. No, I'm only kidding.
Nah, it was good stuff there. So, listen, we got the playoff picture. We're going to continue to keep an eye on it. We'll have more updated PowerPoints next week when we do the show. We're going to try to get healthy here as a staff on the wrestling show. I mean, we got to get Kenny Sarajan back. We got to get Tommy Gallione back. We need Mike Att back. We need this team at full strength here. It's the second half of the season. Right, Rye?
A lot of forfeits tonight. That seems to be the theme of the year.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on.
It's either that or some people just can't make weight.
That was a shot across the bow on Kenny Sarajan. Lots of forfeits tonight, but we are unbound. 3 members strong this edition of the Wrestling Show, and we will see you next week.
Follow the leader.